Friday Night Tyranny Fight. The best Friday news show in the history of anything. Ever. Tourists come to D.C. for the monuments in the history. But what they got this week was stormtroopers with rifles surrounding the monuments and countless attempts to erase that history. But they did get to see history replaying. This week, the administration ordered National Guard troops patrolling Washington, D.C. to carry service weapons as part of its federal crime crackdown. They claim the aim is to restore order, but violent crime in D.C. is at its lowest in decades. The real strategy is clear. Mark Washington, D.C. as federal turf, then dare blue cities to object so they can be painted as pro-crime. Bayonets on K Street aren't there to stop shoplifting. They're there to make headlines. What many people may not see is the deeper goal here: to normalize soldiers in a city without full Democratic representation. When the White House suggests rolling out this same jackboot model to New York, Chicago, and Los Angeles,
and other places all over the country,
that goal becomes clear. Mark Washington's streets as federal turf, then dare other blue cities to object so they can be painted as pro-crime. Also this week, DOJ's election unit pressed states for full voter files and past election records, many including birth dates, driver's license numbers, even partial Social Security numbers. Some states are resisting, others are reviewing, a few are already complying. The stated reason is cleaning rolls and finding non-citizens, even though studies covering millions of votes have found the rate of non-citizen ballots to be less than 0.0001%. Statistical noise. The real point, of course, is the building of a federal vault of sensitive personal data, while seeding the spurious claim that voter fraud is lurking everywhere. Even if you completely accept that premise, which you shouldn't, and completely ignore the misuse of power, which you shouldn't, if this trove leaks or is misused, and it almost certainly will be, the damage will land most directly on black and brown voters, especially naturalized citizens and communities already targeted by purge efforts. This is the quiet but intentional erasure of people of color from the rolls before an election. The tactic is less visible than troops in the streets, but the purpose is the same: suppressing the vote of marginalized communities. Meanwhile, staying on brand, Republicans in Texas moved ahead with their mid-decade redistricting, explicitly to lock in several new GOP seats before the 2026 midterms. Texas has a long history of using redistricting to keep power for marginalized communities, but they're far from alone. There is one weird thing, though, that most of the states who do it on the regular have in common. So, our 2025 landscape is laid before us. An arms race of maps where the powers that be redraw the electorate in Sharpie and dare judges to try to erase it. The tyranny here isn't as obvious. It hides in procedure. No need to block the ballot box with armed thugs if you can split one powerful neighborhood into 4 districts or cram it into one powerless superdistrict. That's how this power grab works. It hides in committee hearings just before midnight, in technical corrections, in maps shaped like Rorschach ink blots. Someday we might have to do a video on why every district in America looks like my mother's disappointment. The people intent on keeping certain folks in their place haven't really changed their tactics that much, but there is some pretty gross irony in this instance. You see, after the Civil War, the federal government also stationed troops in American cities and passed the Enforcement Acts. But back then, it was to protect black citizens from intimidation and to keep elections fair. And in 1870, Congress created the Department of Justice to investigate and prosecute those racially motivated crimes, and to enforce federal civil rights law, because certain states would not. Oh, look, that map looks like the one we saw just a couple of minutes ago. The first big assignments for the new Department of Justice included going after the Ku Klux Klan and safeguarding the enfranchisement of freemen in the South. The irony is that today, some of those same levers are being pulled in reverse. An armed federal presence is sold as public safety, but keeping the dominant old dudes in power is the goal now. And, of course, where the DOJ worked to protect election integrity for voters of color in the post-Civil War South, today, that department's election arm pushes for massive data grabs to identify and exclude voters of color. As we know, state house map-making has been chipping away at black and brown political power the whole time, so no irony there. Sorry. The tools may be modern, databases, precision software, AI, but the through line is as old as the Republic. Narrow who counts as a voter, centralize force, and launder it all through the language of law and order. That's why this week's Friday Night Tyranny Fight stories feel so close to those Reconstruction fights. The tactics have been updated. The target and possible outcome haven't.